Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Well, decided to take a little break from the car itself, kind of move into this front seat, and see if we can get it running smooth again. I hope everybody is having a great spring. Hope everything's going well for everyone. We finally got some nice warm weather out here in the prairies. But yeah, I decided I'm going to start working on the front seat to the 64. I've just got it up here, pulled part of the old, whatever you want to call it, the old seat cover, the old Navajo rug that was shoved in there. So these seat rails, they're actually not in too bad a shape. The main slide itself is galvanized, that's really good. There's no rust at all on it. And it actually, the springs are still good, and the locks, you know, it still works. Everything is good there, same as the other side. It works fine. Now the base, where it actually touched the floor, well, she's a little bit to be desired. She needs some sandblasting and some cleaning. Also, all four bolts that hold the seat down, when I took them off, they just snapped off, and they are welded in studs that are on the back. So we'll have to get them ground down, get them drilled out, and just end up being bolts for that. But other than that, just a clean, and we'll pull it all apart, clean the slider, get the springs off, we'll sandblast the metal down, galvanize, we'll just give a quick little brush down. There's a little bit of corrosion on the bottom here, so I'll rub that with a wire brush, but I actually have cold galvanizing spray as well, so we'll clean that up. I don't want to blast them right off because, well, there's no need to. Now, the reason why I'm jumping away from the car here a little bit is just we actually have a new supplier coming to our work. We're going to be distributing some new products for a new company, and one of the things that they're big in is car parts and brake parts. So I am really hoping that I can get this car done up, all the brakes from them at a good price, get an employee discount, which is always awesome. And yeah, they're Ray Bestis deal is what they are, which is what I'm really looking forward to. And I'm hoping that I can get some of the calipers, or the brake cylinders, and then all the products, all the springs, the latch kits, and all that stuff. Hopefully I can get that all from them, and we'll get back on that part. So a quick run in the blaster, and she came up pretty good. She's pretty pitted on the bottom there. Of course, this is sitting right against the floor, and the floors are completely rotted out of her. I'm just glad that there's some metal left behind here. Now, I used my angle grinder. I ground off what was left to the nub there, and then just with a punch, I just popped the heads of those bolts those studs right out. Just like a little carriage bolt. I don't even think they don't even look like they were welded in there. I think they were just set in the hole square, just like a standard carriage bolt. And when they sucked the bottom nut up tight, it just pulled it in. And of course, it just rusted in there over time. But that turned out pretty good. Salvageable for sure. Got to work on the other one now. I'm going to throw this on a primer and get them all cleaned up. All right, the primer dried up good on that. It adhered right in there, no problem at all. And yeah, it did a pretty good job. You can see the pitting though. There was quite a bit. And of course, this is the driver's side, just like everything else. The driver's side was the worst. You actually get a little hole right there, but no big deal. It's not anywhere important, but that is good. That is good. So now we're gonna try to take this apart somewhat. Get it apart as far as we can. This handle, you see sticking out as soon as you open the door of the car, it is completely rusted. Now, the downside of this, though, is it's in by a big rivet. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that off. And then putting this whole thing on the blaster is kind of a not the best idea. There's still quite a bit of this kind of waxy grease that's in there. So it's all going to depend on how far we can break this down. We'll get it apart, get the springs off, and see how good we can get it moving. kind of hard to see here, but this is the little tooth right there. And down inside here, you can see little gaps, those little teeth as well too, and that's what your seat grabs onto and locks in. Just like that, and then she ain't going nowhere. And there is, see if we can get it there. Yeah, you can see the teeth all along there. Looks like they're spaced a ½ inch apart, each one. But, unfortunately, upon further inspection, she doesn't come apart any further than this for the rails anyway. The ball bearing you can see down in there, it stops right against this rivet, which is pounded flat on the other side as well too. And the same goes on the other end. If we slide it right through, the same thing. You can see the track that it's following hits that rivet, and they're in there. And then there's ones inside further, so you only got about 4 inches of movement. 2 inches forward, 2 inches back. That's about, I guess no, 4 inches forward, 4 inches back as it goes to the end. So that's all the movement you have in that, and that as far as that comes apart. As for the handle, the lever, it is the same way. It's riveted in there, and like I said, there's no way to get this thing apart unless I almost destroy this, I would think. I'm sure they put this to the end, slipped in the bearing and everything down there, put the final rivet in, same thing on this side, and then now it's permanently between there. So, didn't really want to do her because I'm worried about stuff sticking inside, but I am going to throw this in the blaster. I want to get this handle as clean as I can. I'll have to be real careful around this plastic knob. It's solid on here. I don't think it's going to come off. I might actually rub a little duct tape around that just to make sure I don't blast the pieces. And we'll try to get her off. I'll take a little, I was going to use a wire wheel here, but I'll just take the blaster, do my best to be gentle with it, and clean that up a little bit. That didn't turn out too bad, and we got lots of good sliding action again. No problems at all. Now, I forgot to tape up my the plastic knob, but I was careful. I never touched it, so we're good. Now, those walnut shells, they take all the flake off in the paint, but they don't get deep into the rust. But that's okay. We want some surface rust for this paint. It's gonna make it look like it's a textured surface. That's the only thing. The rust paint actually prefers rust, just like this, where all flake is gone, but a full surface of surface rust. So that's the rust paint loves the most. And we cleaned up those little spots here. I'll be hitting some of this with the primer, just lightly, just to get it to convert. And I have some grayer paint that's like a galv compound, cold galv, I think they call it. And that'll just get put on here. You won't really see much of this anyway, but that'll just help take care of that and clean that up a little bit, and hopefully you won't get any rust bleed through. But yeah, once this is all painted up and ready to go, we'll be able to get some lube in here, put some lube down on the ball bearings, and get it rolling a little smoother. All right, hit that one with the primer. She's drying up. Did the other side, and if you look for the white kind of marks where it really stuck into the primer or into the rust, you can see where it was, but really it blends in pretty good. Now, it's definitely not a permanent coat, the primer, which I really would love to leave it there like that, but we're going to hit that with a little bit of top coat because the primer just doesn't have that longevity like paint does. So that, yeah, that's how it's going to look. It's going to look pretty good, I think. And this one, once we get it all done and all dry, we'll hit the handle with black, and then once the black is dry, then I'll go back on it, and I'll hit it with a little bit of that gray. There we go. Now the gray dried up nice. It's just, the black is just still a little bit sticky, but that turned out really good. I was able to get the tape in underneath there nice and mask that off. Got the other one done. Should dip that up. Don't want that touching yet. And I got the lower brackets done as well too. That's all looking good. Now, I was going to go with the galvanized stuff, but I didn't realize that it's actually my Weldon galvanized. This is it here. This is a cold galvanizing compound. There's a cold galvanizing spray that's like a paint, but this stuff never really, it dries, but it stays like chalk and you can rub it off. That's for welding seams and panels. So I had this aluminum one that is it's not gloss. It's like more like a dull, like a brushed aluminum color, just like you see on the can there. And it kind of, yeah, it's close. Definitely don't go by the can on this stuff. But this is an actual rust paint and it's just the aluminum one. So that worked out pretty good. And like I said, if I left it in primer, the primer that tends to wear off pretty quick. So it's just a flat top coat. And I think that's going to turn out awesome. So I yanked on the side here, pull out a couple of these, I think you call them hog rings. And I was able to find one bolt inside here. Anyway, to start, there might be another one down further in there. But I really want to get the two halves of this chair apart, or the seat. Got some leads, been looking online, and looks like I can get skins for these seats. And yeah, that's going to be much better, because like I was mentioning before, I was thinking about making them, but for the price of these things, they're under 200 bucks. I probably can't even buy the material for that price. Now, I don't know what the quality is. I'm sure they're okay. They've got good reviews. The only thing it doesn't come with all the foam here underneath. Now, I have lots of foam here, but you know, I'll buy some new stuff, and it comes in all different shapes and sizes and thicknesses and densities. So that's the only thing I got to do. I'll get the new covers, but I got to get the new foam to go underneath of it. Yeah, I gave that a good yank back, and there's another bolt up in here. I don't really know where it goes on the back side though. I can't feel it anywhere. But oh, look at that. Right behind the foam here on the inside, there is a spot to get my little wrench through. All right, get in there and take that apart. Yeah, there ain't no tricks here. We're just ripping and tearing all these hog rings out wherever I can find. That'll be a tool I'll have to get. When I start putting this all back together, I'll have to get a set of hog ring pliers. Do all this upholstery. And some of this stuff is so tight, I don't know if the chair has just shrunk over time, the material, and pulled that tight, because it's like a drum. And I guess where it's ripped, it's kind of spread apart, so I guess it just gets old and brittle, starts to shrink up. Oop. Oh my God. This is, again, the driver's side. The door that was left open, and the water was going in. Look at the rust in there. Eek. I don't know how that bar attached to the top half of the seat, but it's definitely something. Oh, where's the other bolt at? There it is. It's definitely something I want to try to get off and see if I can clean that up. And there we go. The seat just dropped away. And as I've been working on this thing, because you guys know I do this on TikTok as well, I have treasures. Just odds and ends that I've been pulling out of there. I found money, found some tags, some pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters. I got another 22 shell that I found. I found another one in the floor. I got some Burns wieners and beans. Got a receipt here that originally was thinking for gasoline quantity. That's, oh, you know what? That is sorry, where are we at here? That's a 9.0. I thought it was a 90, but that's 9 gallons. But still, 9 gallons of gas. Looks like for $6.92. I think that's what it is. I think it's a 9.0 is what that is. So, yeah. She was cheap back in the day. But I got 68 odd cents there. And when I open this up, it just keeps on giving. The pennies, quarters, oh, a nickel, more pennies. I get here. Quarters, well, that's good. I like the quarters. I like the big ones. Something there. Oh, another penny. Some more junk down in there, but all these pennies, they look fairly new. Like fairly new as in shiny, but that is a, what is that? That one's a 1968. This quarter is, I can't read that. I think it's a 64 quarter. And it just goes on and on. What do we got here now? January the 2nd or June 2nd. Oh, it's a Safeway meat sticker. I can't read what it used to be, but or how much it was. But yeah, price per pound. Canadian Safeway Limited, Winnipeg, Manitoba. Guaranteed meats. Interesting. What do we got here? Oh, it's nothing. Actually, you know what? I think that's a tag off the original seat cover that was left to it in there. But yeah, throw the money aside because you know what? Car's finally making a few bucks for me. And we'll get the vacuum cleaner and suck that out. So we're moving into the respirator now. I'm tearing into the seat. And I tell you, I must have taken out about 50 hog rings so far. But this thing inside is a complete mouse nest. It is, it's full of leaves and debris and probably insulation from the car and all the parts. So, I got a few more on this one I got to pull out. I'll try to pull the skin off to try to get this frame out. This frame and this rust edge, it's all one piece inside. So it's one complete part. I can't take off the side here. So I got to get this part to try to clean up that rust. Even though you don't see it, I can't have that rust, building up in there, also bleeding out over time or whatever. And I definitely don't want to be breathing this stuff in. So, flip her over, take some more rings out, and see if we can peel it off. Probably put some latex gloves on too. Now that is much better. I ended up pulling that whole jacket off. And of course, I got out all the rat's nest, mouse nest, raccoon turds. I just cleaned it all up. Used my respirator the whole time. It was brutal. And gloves. I'm still using gloves when I handle this thing. And I got everything in the garbage and gone already. Got her vacuumed up. And actually, it's been about a day and a half, almost 2 days, that I kind of let it settle a little bit here. I came in a little bit yesterday and used my respirator again, just making sure that the dust is settling out and everything's good. And yeah, that is done. And we're going to let that kind of stay there for a bit because I got some new items. So hopefully I got what I need to complete the water circuit for the heater core on the 64. Got myself some nice silicone heater hose here. That should be good. And fully picked this because it's almost dead on to the Mopar blue that's in my covers. So that'd be neat. They had red and they had black, but I thought, we'll try the blue. Maybe it'll look nice. Got some elbows. There's a couple spots that are going to be really tight. I might need to put an elbow in this thing so I don't kink it off. I got some hose clamps here, some gear clamps. Not the ones I like, but the ones I got. And of course, made in China, I got myself a new little heater valve. Now in the manual for this thing, it is pretty vague about this heater valve. One picture, it just shows, it's kind of linear. It shows basically the square radiator here. Right above it, it shows the heater core. It shows the two lines coming up it, left going in, right coming out, and it just shows the heater valve in the line going to the heater core. It just shows it there. When you go a little further in the manual, where it actually shows the layout of the lines and a better description of which one's coming off of where, you can't see the heater valve in it. You can kind of see in one of the pictures, it's kind of looking this way, and it's just down behind the engine there somewheres. So I'm going to have to come up with something because I don't see anything down there to hook it to. And when I got the car, all that was ripped off. It was already removed. So this is the little heater valve I got here. It's just Pretty simple, on and off. This is actually out of an old Dodge, well, newer than this Dodge or Mopar, but this is a Dodge Ram truck. And it's 5/8, which is all my fittings, of course, on the water pump, and of course coming out of the heater core. So this little unit needs to be mounted somewheres down in here. That's my cable there, my actuator cable for it. But it needs to be mounted down there somewheres. And right here is where the water's going in. So that's where I thought I might need an elbow. So I brought some in just in case. Because I might need to put an elbow there because I don't want it looping all the way out and back in. I don't want to create too much restriction, of course. Though this car will only be driven in the warmer months of the late spring and maybe early fall. But nevertheless, should have some heat to defrost the window. But yeah, I got to try to make some kind of bracket to fit in there. Now down here, this line right here, this is the outlet from the pump. So this goes around. I could go this way, but I want to keep them together to make it look a little nicer. So this line goes to the bottom of the heater core, and then it does its thing. And when it comes to the top with the cooler water, it works its way back around and goes into there, as per the diagram in the Chrysler manual. So that's my first thing, is try to figure out how I can make a bracket to mount that thing to the firewall. Just like that, we got a little bracket down in there. Attach the firewall. Ain't that snazzy? So now I'm just going to pull it off. I'm going to put some paint on that thing so she don't rust. I'll also put a little paint in the hole, and I'll probably use a little silicone as well too, just to make sure that doesn't leak in there. And I'll get some hoses on it, hook it up, and start routing it through, and hopefully we can get the system pressurized and checked out. Here we go. Now, I ended up painting the bracket black because I do not have any red paint left, and I didn't even know that. I can't even remember using the last of it, but it must have been when I touched up the paint up front there. But anyway, it's black, it's dry, it's good to go. I threw my hose on here because the bracket I made to offset so I can put the tightener right in there. And once that goes on, you're not going to be able to get to it. So I got up one side, down the other. Got about 8 feet of hose here. We're going to mount that to the firewall where we drilled the holes. We're going to bring it around, and I got to get to this one right there. This nipple, that's where it says that the water comes out to go through the system and come back out the top back in. So I'm going to put it on, snake it around, and see how we fit. See if I'm going to have to put an elbow on there. The least amount of joints, the better. But we'll see what it looks like without an elbow first, and then we'll see if we need to put one in. Okay, hoses are on, and I was getting a little worried. I bought 8 feet of this stuff, and that is all, about an inch. That's all I had left over extra, and I could have probably used that up easy somewheres, but I was running it tight because I knew it was going to be close. I just didn't think I was going to be that close. And at $12 a foot for the silicone heater hose, you don't want to be wasting it too much. It's expensive stuff. but is it ever nice? It's nice feel. It curves so nice, and it gets nice bends and radiuses without kinking. So down the back here, the elbow, it doesn't look the best, but I don't have much of a choice. It's either that or a giant loop that comes out to go back in. I prefer this. I don't want that end flapping out there anywhere. But the hose barb end is touching the barb from the heater core, so that is as tight as it can get. So I just kind of sloped it down to the valve, and it's just barely touching the edge, which will be okay. As it comes around, just got some nice little zip ties on it at the moment, but the studs for the valve covers, they're long. They get nice and long. So I'm going to get a little bracket, or make a little bracket, and that'll end up holding that right down in that valley, just nice, just like that. Same thing all the way along here. Then this side, I got a 3/8 bolt hole here, and that's good because I'm going to pull these right down. So they're right smooth just like that, and they make a nice bend really low. And then of course my breather will be the big round chrome one. That's going to cover up most of the side. It'll be tucked right under there, and I think we are rocking. Now something else too, I got a little piece of hose that I managed to find to fit over my vacuum line, because my vacuum line, the original one for the car, the barb that it's supposed to go on is bigger than the hose itself, so I had to get a little cheater line to go around there. And that might be temporary, that might be something I can check later on, but that'll help for now, once we get the braking and the running done, to make sure that all those vacuum pots inside work. All right, kind of standing up here, half in the car, half with the windshield, but, oh, there we are there. There we go. We got the old heater valve is working. No heat, got heat. No heat, got heat. That is awesome. That is awesome. This is quite the view here. If I was sitting in the seat, maybe I should run her without a hood just so I can look at that the whole time I'm driving. That'd be pretty cool. So, now we got everything going where we know it's going to go. Now I'm going to fill my need to know about things holding pressure. Way back, quite a few years back, I used to build sprayers, commercial sprayers for a company. And everything I put water in or air in, I always pressure tested to make sure everything was good. And I'm going to do the same for the engine. I'm going to do the heater core separately, but the engine here, she should hold 13 to 14 pounds, no problem. That's where this is supposed to blow off. I got a gauge on here, but all it's doing is just plugging the other side of the hole. It don't work. I just didn't have a 5/8 nipple or anything to plug that hole, so the gauge goes in, of course. There's where we're going to fill from that side. So without a gauge, just to remove the stupid factor in case something dumb happens, I have my compressor set to 20 psi, just to make sure that I don't overpressurize this thing and blow a rad hose off or pop a radiator or something. But all we're going to do, put some air in here. Oh, and I can hear the rad cap starting to gas off. See, make sure that stops. There it goes. Okay. There, you can hear it again. So we are good. So it's coming off before the 20 pounds. Hopefully it is around that 13, 14 pound range. But we now have air in the system. She's pressurized up. And we're going to leave that for a little bit. This evening, here's where we're at. And we will come back and hopefully it'll still have air in it. All right. I almost forgot about this. I was hoping about an hour. I think we just got just over 2 hours. What do we got here? Yeah, not quite 2 hours. But we have, oh yes, that is awesome. Still had air. That's good. That is really good. So what I'm going to do is actually going to fill this again. I'm going to leave it overnight. Going to come out tomorrow. If she's still got air in her, then we know within reasonable doubt the engine is good and everything on this side is good. Then I'll double check. I'll take it apart, put it in on the core side. I have to be really careful with that core because once I hook that up, I have no relief at all. So I'll make sure that it is good to go. But we'll double check that, and then I'll know that side's good. Plug her together, and it'll be time to fill this thing up. So, yeah, I'm getting to the nervous point. My biggest fear is the water entering the oil through something somewhere. So that's why I'm doing this pressure test. But I think we're doing good. I think if it holds air overnight, it'll hold water, no problem. And then we'll get this thing up to operating temperature and get that cam broken in. That's the big thing. Get that cam broken in, get those rings seated, and see how this thing actually sounds and idles when she's warm. Well, we are back into another beautiful day. It is bright and it is nice out. And what did this thing do? What's the verdict? I don't know. I never checked. But it's been, is that 10? We're going to say pretty close to 8.5 hours. Is there still air in here? Well, there is, for sure. But you know what? Not as much as when I did the test yesterday. So it did hold air all night. That's a for sure thing. But by the sound of it coming out, it definitely wasn't as much as I was in there yesterday when I did the test for 2 hours. Now, while I was going to bed last night, I was also thinking about it, discussing it and arguing it in my mind about should it actually hold air for that long? And I don't know the answer. What do you guys think? Do you think it should hold it the whole time? Because what I found is when they're talking about leaks in radiators and leaks in cooling systems, the recommended test is to pressurize the system to the 13 to 14 pounds, which is what the RadCap is supposed to do, and it is. It's popping off just before 20. I have my compressor set at 20. So it's working properly. It hisses down till it stops. And they're saying to hold that air from 20 to 35 minutes, making sure there's still pressure. Well, I can't really see the actual pressure gauge, but I would be willing to guess that it is almost the exact same pressure that was in it. I mean, after 2 hours, it sounds the same. So it's supposed to hold that pressure for 20 to 35 minutes. Now, does that mean this should hold pressure all night? In my mind, I would think so. I would think that if I put 20 pounds in this, it should stay 20 pounds for the next month. Maybe that's not true. Though I have a car, I have a truck, lots of vehicles. I never have a puddle of antifreeze under them. But you're not running at that 13 to 14 PSI. You're always below it, right? If you're running at that pressure all the time, you'd be spewing antifreeze out everywhere. So you're under the 13 pounds. And also, the engine is at that 13 pounds. When it's running, maybe you would notice a little trickle somewhere is coming out. If it's inside, it might burn away and never even be noticed. And then as it cools down, all that pressure is gone probably within a half hour to an hour. It's probably dropped really low. So that's kind of a question. Like, what do you guys think? This is your second video for the day. Sorry, this morning's video was yesterday. So this is today's video, which would be number 2. I really want to know because I want to pump water in this thing, or coolant. Actually, it's going to be coolant. It means it seems to be holding pressure that good. It's going to be coolant the first run. I won't have to worry about it. But what do you guys think? Jump on here. Let me know. Should I be looking for something else? Or do you think that, you know what, some pressure, somewhere between 13 and 2 pounds, we'll say, because some come out, or do you think that's acceptable for an 8 to 10 hour period? So now I am hooked up to my heater core. And this is the difference here, because I have pressure showing my gauge now. The gauge works. I just found out. It's just that it just doesn't work well. So I am at, according to the compressor, and I put my tire gauge on there with the block off on it. So I am at exactly 20 pounds at the compressor. And I'm at a full 20 pounds in my heater cooler, or the heater core. I don't know how much it's supposed to take. So what I found in doing this is that at a full 20 pounds, my gauge barely reads over 5, just over 5, almost 6. So at 13 pounds, I'm not going to see anything. But I am holding pressure here at 5.5 to 6 pounds. So that is good news. That is real good news to know that that heater core is holding pressure. And what's cool is I can actually leave this go now, and I can watch this and see how long that goes for. And yeah, that's it. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Just another check. I'm happy. This will let me know real quick if it's leaking, because either I'll get a puddle here or I'll get a puddle on my floor in there. But again, I don't know how long we're supposed to wait. You think it's settled out at 5.5 pounds, which is 20 pounds on this side. So we'll see how that goes. Oh baby, I might not have a leak at all. I just noticed. I got a leak all right, but a little tiny leak. I know it looks big because of the bubbles, but that's almost nothing. But I have a little leak around my gauge. Right there. You know what? And I thought I did check these. I must have just missed it. Now I am using a pipe clamp onto a thread, of course, coming off that. But there we go. There's a good chance that I don't have a leak. I don't think I actually showed that inlay in there. That valance as it goes around there. Since I painted it, it looks good. It is shiny, blends in perfect here. But like I'd mentioned before, I gotta find some material, something I can glue or adhere right to the very lower edge of this to take up this gap, because that is the shrinkage. This dash is almost a 1/2 inch smaller than it was originally. So I gotta take care of that. This side's even worse. And mainly because the pieces like this that was underneath it originally, they're broken off, so it looks worse than it is. But again, there's this nice round edge here. I gotta get something on there so I can glue it in. You'll see it a bit from the outside of the car, unfortunately, though I think there is a frosting around the window, a gray frosting, which is like the only ones I can get apparently. So that'll hide it a little bit, but I definitely don't want to be able to see right down into the metal here, even though it is painted. I really don't want to see that, so I'm going to try to get a piece of material and hold that down. But today, hopefully, we're going to get the car raised back up, and we're going to address the neutral on this thing. If you remember back when I had the dash lifted up, it wasn't in neutral because I wasn't clipped on properly, the shifting linkage. Well, the shifting linkage is on properly now, but I can only get it into park if I really push hard on the button and kind of like jam it in there. So the adjustment is out a little bit. I should be able to do that from under the car. The only downside is when I take that lock bolt off, if I pop that line out by mistake, I'm losing about 5.5 gallons or 5.5 liters of transmission fluid. So let's get her up on the jacks, get some jack stands under there, and see what we can do. But let's get to the immediate problem with the 64 here. So if we are in neutral and we are in park, we have nothing. But if we are in drive, we have ignition. So I am somewheres too close. I have to get it so that when I'm in park, which if that was drive, right, that changes it out. We are now parks all the way in, drive is out. That's where we need to be grounding on the transmission safety switch. For some reason, I'm just out that little bit. Now remember, we only ran this when it was outside of the car, when I had it stretched out in a straight line. That cable now comes off the transmission, bends around by the tunnel, out the front, round back in and down in the dash, and then up into the shift lever itself. So it has got some tension on it. It's probably moved, shrunk itself up a little bit. I'm assuming with all the bends, the inside wire has pulled a little bit tighter. So that's what we have to work on for the adjustment. So we got to get under there, get the lock nut out of the adjuster, and slowly pull it out, because we want to make sure we don't pull it all the way out. We're going to have a big mess. All the fluid is going to dump on the floor, because we are about 3 inches higher than the level of that push wire that goes into their push rod. But we'll get her. All right, I got my set screw or set bolt out. We'll set that aside. And now we have my adjusting wheel. Now I know that where it's at is no good, obviously, because what's happening is when I got it in drive, I'm now neutral. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this in, and turning this wheel in is going to start to pull the control lever out just a little bit. So when I took this nut off and I could loosen this, there is a little bit of slack in it. So I'm just going to do just little movements at a time, trying to judge where it touches. Come on, it's got to here somewhere. It's a fine thread. It's a really fine thread. So there, okay, there it is. I got some tension right there. So I'm going to turn that. Oh, I can feel something going on right there. Yeah, right there. I can feel the tension starting to pull, so I'm going to turn a little more. Right there. Let's go back up and see what we got going on. All right, now we're back up. We are in neutral, in park. There we go. There we go. Now I can't push the button here. I don't got it locked in yet. So I'm going to go back down. I'm just going to put that lock screw in, and then we'll go through the gears to make sure we're still doing good. All right. Set screw is in. Oh, let's see what we got going on here now. All right. So that is neutral. Oh, sorry, wrong way. So that is neutral. In drive. Nothing. Make sure we're going through all the gears good. Nothing. Reverse. Nothing. Back to park. Neutral. Bonus. What? No. What was that? Oh, God. Man, why can't I have a bit of joy for 1 minute? So shifter's all working great, as you saw me doing there. And I heard something fall at the last minute. Oh my God. Now here's the question. Let me see here. It's not rusty. This is a new one. One of the two. All right, I got to get up in there. Oh, please, I hope that's the one I lost. Oh. Please, 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 please. Oh. I can only see that because I got my phone up in here on kind of a bit of an angle. Can you see the nub? You see that rusty bar? There's the 2 bolts in it below all the wires. Right there. Oh, the clip fell off. Oh, man. Oh, I really don't want to pull that dash back again. Oh, boy. Bugger. I wonder if I stretched it when I was pushing it on and didn't get it quite like... my life! You see how easy those things are to lose? Oh, this is like, this is getting to be one of those days where I should just almost pack it in, but I'm being stubborn. But, yes, I wonder if I pushed that over the pin and I didn't actually get it in the slot the first time, and I wonder if I stretched that open, because that is the correct size going by the shaft diameter. So I'm going to get a little pair of pliers and see if I can crimp that again. All right. This shot is probably going to be a mess. But I cannot see up in here. So, like I said, all I'm doing is I'm viewing my phone kind of between the, what do you call it, the steering column. And that is all I got to go on to see the nub. So I'm looking through the phone, which is delayed, which sucks. And of course, that's where I got to get to, right there. And I got the clip, I think, in my hands. Yeah, it's there, right there. I'm sorry about this, but this is what you're getting. Oh, there, I can see through the phone. I can see it good now. So, the phone is my eyeballs. I think I got this. And of course, my fingers and stuff are cracked so bad I can barely feel this thing. Oh. Which is the best way to go here. Right there. Right. The grip is there. Oh, where'd it go? Where'd it go? There we are. Bear with me. Fast forward to this part if you don't want to see her. I am trying my best. Come on, in frame. There we go. Oh, damn it. Oh, I dropped it again. Somewheres. Oh. Oh. There it is, right there. All right, I'm gonna play with this. This is not working. Well, I never thought I'd be back here again so fast, but here we are. God, I hate that thing. Why can't it be a cotter pin like the other side? Like, why? There's a little nub right down there, of course. Well, give me a minute here. See if I can get it back on. All right. There it is. On there again. And you know what? I actually went back and looked at my older video, and I don't think I was actually fully on the pin. It looked like the clip was kind of like sideways, like it was a little bit off. So I don't know if that was the bend or I didn't have it actually on all the way, but I did squish it a little bit with a pair of pliers. It was harder to get on, but it's on there now. So let's put the dash back together again, and we'll test out our drive to make sure that we can get from drive to neutral and get the engine turning over. All right, back together again. Oh, man. All right. Jeez. Almost got PTSD trying to push that button. All right, we're in neutral. Oops. And we're good. In the drive. Nothing. Into reverse. Nothing. Into park. All right, we're good. We are good. Well, that chewed up a lot of time that I was not expecting. I was hoping that it'd just be a quick mess around, and I was hoping to start checking on a few other things, but I guess that's the way it works sometimes. Man, my fingers are just raw from trying to push that little pin on that clip. All right. Well, with the crazy job done, that was supposed to be quick. Like I said, I've chewed up all my time for the evening, but just want to get a few more things done here. Got another gallon of coolant put in here. This is not what I use. This is just the jugs. We sell it 50-50 mix at work, so I just from the bulk, which is cheaper, so I bring it home. But I got it right there, right to the top. I got another one in. Only put about a half a liter in out of that one. And the manual does state that it takes 16 quarts. So I'm at, well, 3-gallon jugs and a bit. So I'm probably right there. Now it's right to the top level. Of course, still got to fill the top radiator hose and the heater core and probably the top half of the engine. I imagine there's some air in there. So we'll get that burped out of there once we start get this running. Thermostat opens and that pump starts circulating it good. That'll be it. That'll be it. We're getting closer. But the next thing on the list is my oil pressure gauge. So I got a Hastings gauge kit. I have a nice little chrome bezel that's going to fit right down nice underneath by my knee. The sender unit is already on the engine. That's you've seen that many times before. It is right down here. And I have my sending wire going through, and it's coming out under the dash. So now I just got to figure out the old digitals here, figure out how to put her in. What's funny is the picture that shows her and explains what to do is different to what's on the back of the gauge, but they are marked. They do have, this one's S for signal. That one says I plus, so I'm assuming that means ignition. When like accessory, when I turn the key on, it activates it. That is ground right there, and then this is another positive, but I think that's just for the light. So I'll have to tie into the. I'll probably use a cigarette lighter light where it comes down. It's right there where I'm going to put it. But I think I got a good spot for it. So sitting here in the old 64, that'll be my view looking out. I think I'm going to have that gauge right there, just off to the side. Throttle pedal right here. Put this just off to the side, just to this side of where the ashtray goes. The ashtray is right up in here. So I'll put her right there, nice and shiny, easy to look at, illuminated light. And it'll be much better than relying on a little red light to come on telling you that you're screwed. Because usually by the time the red light's on, you're done. It's over. So, got my instructions laid out here. And hopefully they seem pretty straightforward. Now, I don't have any real fancy connectors here. I'm just using these open crimp connectors. Some of the other ones that I run that are more, I guess, critical, I do have shrink ones and stuff like that where I can shrink it to the wire and they seal themselves up. But I like to save that for somewhere where it might be wet all the time, like underneath the hood or something like that. Being up under the dash, I would hope no water gets under there. So we're just going to use these regular ones. And the first one, the ground wire, is going to be real easy. The dash I have grounded separately. If you remember back when I was putting that in, I ran separate grounds to the dash and then to the frame just because, I don't know, it's older. And a lot of those switches, they just connect just by touching when they go through the holes. So what I'm going to do for the ground here is it's going to come here and it's going to be real short, tucked in behind, right to here. And then, of course, when the screw goes through into the dash, that'll be the ground. And that'll make it short and you won't be able to see it. And it's just something else I don't have to run all the way up behind that dash. So I'll screw that on and we'll get the other end clipped on. There, that's just going to come around. It'll tuck in nice behind here. Then when I put my screw through, I'll be able to clamp it on here. And then it'll be hidden behind the gauge. You won't see it. Now, even though this is simple, there's nothing crazy about this. It's just wire in, wire out. I always like to double check to make sure I got good conductivity, because I did something one time that was so dumb and I chased my tail forever. When I crimped the wire, I missed the wire and I just crimped the plastic jacket inside. And so, of course, there was no connection and I looked at that thing forever. I pulled on every connection, everything was good. And yeah, I ended up being inside, just crimped onto the rubber jacket, the insulator by mistake. So yeah, whenever I do little wires, I just give it a quick little check. Better safe than sorry and chase my tail around all night. All right. You know what? I'm going to tell you right now, if I ever get to a point in my life where I have the opportunity to design a car, I am going to design an electrical dash and a panel that is so easy to get to that people would, like, they'll pay millions for it. But, oh my goodness, it drives me nuts here. All right, so where am I at here? I'm right there where my gauge is, where my little lead. I'm down into the panel because it says I have to find 12 volt ignition. So 12 volt when ignition is on. So I got a lead there. And of course I'm grounded to the holes that I made for where my gauge is going to go. And I am at 0. And if I turn my key on, there we go. I have 12 volt. Well, just over. I just charged the battery last night, that big thing. And there we go. So I need to get a connector, a spade connector on the end of the wire, and that's where I can tie it in. There we go. Nice little octopus. Wiring always looks so crappy when it's just hanging out, but once it's all done and said and done, it'll all be hidden in there. But there's all my lines. Now, one thing I didn't mention, not only am I going to the fuse box, which it asks for ignition on, but that is through a fuse circuit. So I don't know what the real purpose of that is. It's a tiny light, but I guess anything could burn up, I guess. So now, I'm just going to crawl under there. Stop. Crawl under there, hook those wires up, and hopefully get some illumination. All right, we are all connected. I just kind of stuck the extra wire up behind here for now. That'll get sorted out once all this is done. But if we come up to the dash lights, look at that, we are illuminated. And you know what? I didn't even know it was going to be green. It kind of matches everything else. But there we go. And it dims with the rest of them. And then when I turn the ignition on, it should pick up the signal of 0. And there it goes. Awesome. Awesome possum. Red light on. Gauge on as well. Wasn't that bad. Feel kind of proud of myself. Well, with another thing off the checklist, it's getting close to time, I tell you. Getting real close to a break-in. I know you guys have been waiting for this for a while. And as you can see, I threw in my temporary filter and line again and get it brought down to where it's going to go to the pump. I haven't picked up my line or run a line to the tank yet, and I will not be filling the tank and running it from there yet until I actually have brakes in this thing. This thing is ready to go. You know, once I get this break-in done, it's going to be back in the shop here for a while. Right? There's no denying it. And I just don't want to have a tank of fuel just sitting there for another month or 2 months. So we're running off a small tank. I'm going to take a small line. I'm going to bring it out the bottom. I'm going to kind of have it out here, kind of away from the engine, because the flames will be coming out there. Remember, we're dumping straight out of the exhaust. And we'll try to be safe. We don't want to burn this thing down before I get it on the road. But next step, I got to figure out a length for a power steering, those things. Power steering belt. Got to figure out a power steering belt, get this thing adjusted correctly, and get my line finally hooked on. And hopefully this system will work good too. I'm hoping there's no issues. There was no leaks when I took it apart. The whole thing was full. All I did is open it up, clean it up. I had a big O-ring, put a new O-ring on the end, so everything should be sealed there. And then everything back here is fine. There's no leaks, and it's been sitting full for a while. I've gushed fluid out of it by mistake one time, and that's why I ended up putting this little closed loop thing on. So, yeah, power steering pump belt and the return line. You know what? I forgot about that. Well, darn it. I'm going to have to check into that. I know this stuff isn't good for oil, so it'd be nice to have that, but this stuff's not good for oil, but I forgot all about that return line. I'll have to take a look for that tomorrow. But that's all I got for you tonight. I'm going to call a little bit early night. I created a monster in my house. Introduced Lek to Dexter. It blew my mind. Last night she never even knew it was a show. She never heard of it. I explained it to her. She thought, sounds kind of weird. We watched the first couple episodes, hooked instantly. She's a true crime lover, and she loves the serial killer stuff. I don't know if I should be worried when I'm sleeping at night or not, but yeah, she is. After one night, she is hooked on Dexter. So that's what we're doing each evening through the week here. A little TV time. Soon, though, it's going to be bright and sunny to 10, 11 o'clock, and Paulie's going to be busy. So we'll get it in while we can. But anyway, love you all. Love you guys too. Catch you tomorrow.